What's up, duelists? Today's video is a very poggers video because it showcases one of my hidden tools for tournament preparation. I'm gonna show you guys actually my Edison matchup spreadsheet, which I've compiled over a large period of me playing this format almost every single day for the last year and a half. This is it right here. This is the spreadsheet. Go ahead and take a look. The matchups, as you see, it goes left to right for that deck. So Blackwing against Quick Draw, my data shows that Blackwing is 65-35 versus Quick Draw or whatever. Keep in mind that a lot of these are subject to change based off of meta shifts. Like if Glad Beast all of a sudden starts maining Defissure, or if I start adding Defissure to the main deck of my Gladiator Beast deck, then it's going to affect the matchup spreadsheet, of course. If you start changing the composition of your build, you may or may not improve some matchups here and there. But for the most part, I think this is as close to accurate on a matchup spreadsheet that you can get within the top like 12 decks of this format. I've lumped a lot of decks together. You see here Machina X, that could mean Machina Gadget, it could mean Ancient Gear, it could mean the Quick Draw Machina decks. It's just Machina X. I lumped all of them together. I also lumped Stun X together, which is like Hero Beat, Stun, whatever, that stuff, King Tiger type beat, Lightsworn, Twilight, etc. Dragons, you've got the trap deck, and you've got the deck with no traps, the turbo deck. Fish OTK, I kind of lumped the Frog Slicer OTK deck into that. I haven't really played it that much. I played like maybe 2 sets with it lifetime, but yeah, I lumped it in with the Fish OTK deck, and then the other stuff is pretty self-explanatory. Oh, Diva X, I should say. Diva X is like Diva Hero or Diva Zombies, or the Silchus Ruin build, which is both Diva Hero and Diva Zombies. So that's what I've lumped together here. There's one matchup which I didn't have a very good data set to come across on, and that's actually Machina X versus Frog Monarch. I have not played this matchup ever, which is kind of insane given that like I've said, I've played this format every single day for over a year and a half, which is it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, I've never played this matchup. So if you guys play either Machina X or you play Frog Monarch and you guys have some sort of opinion on this, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Over here to the right, I've written out how many of these decks have winning matchups and losing matchups, and then 50-50 matchups, basically. Not counting the mirror, of course. And based off of matchup spread alone, Fairies and Blackwings are the 2 best decks by a significant margin. They have the most winning matchups, and they have the least losing matchups by a decent amount. Everything else is kind of just in this middling, like I win maybe half my matchups, I lose maybe half my matchups, with the exception of like Fish OTK, which randomly has like 8 losing matchups amongst the top 12 somehow. I'm not sure how, because I think the deck is fine. I don't think it's like that terrible, but based off of matchup spread alone, I think it is probably the worst deck out of the top 12. Then we got to talk about the free win factor, because yes, maybe the Fairy deck is the best deck by matchup spread, but the Fairy deck doesn't have that free win factor that some of these other decks have. Fairy deck isn't going to be starting with Future Fusion. It's not going to be starting with Double Whirlwind. It's not going to be starting with, like, I don't know. Those are the 2 things that come to mind, honestly. That, or just, like, you know, you have a free win factor in the fact that, like, your fish card is insane or something. I don't know. Or that, like, you have Cold Wave JD. That's a free win factor. Fairies doesn't really have that. There's a couple other decks that don't really have that. Stun X doesn't really have a free win factor. And by Stun X, I mean, like, Hero Beat. Those types of decks, or like Thunder King, basically decks that play Thunder King. Frog Monarch doesn't really have a free win factor. It's a very fair deck. I don't think that the Quick Draw deck also has a free win factor. Quick Draw has to pretty much grind out every single game and play for the advantage, play for the long game. So even though some of these decks may have more winning or losing spreads, that's not the only thing that goes into picking a deck or choosing a deck that you want to bring to a tournament. A large part of bringing a deck to a tournament is how well can you handle this deck in 9 rounds, or however many rounds the tournament is. If it's a long tournament, let's say it's an RBET, for example, if it's a 12-hour tournament with a day 2, are you really going to want to bring a deck where you have to grind out every single win, like Fairy? Are you really going to want to do that? That sounds exhausting. It sounds very, painful. Whereas maybe you just want to bring something like Machina X, where you just have limiter removal Megamorph and you can randomly steal wins, and you get these rounds where your brain isn't taxed as hard. So these are other things to consider in the matchup spreadsheet, and this is kind of a lot of the data I've been looking for when preparing for the Deck Devastators tournament on September 4th. By the way, if you guys want to participate in that tournament, it's free to enter. It's in the edisonformat.com Discord. There's a link to that in the description below. I also have 3 replays today that I'm showing you guys. I have been playing this Gladiator Beast list on an alternate account. Yes, I've been playing on an alternate account. And the reason being is because I've been getting a wide variety of opponents on my main account. And don't get me wrong, I love it, but it doesn't make for the best like testing for tournaments. So I've been doing my actual tournament testing on alternate accounts, and I've been playing against more serious opponents, more or less. So I'm going to be switching up the accounts I'm playing on when testing for this tournament. So if you're thinking that I'm testing for a tournament on my main account or I'm doing whatever, I'm usually just playing the wacky decks, trying to get like a Meta Breakers deck list out on the main account, and then when I'm playing on the alts, it's more serious stuff. This is a Gladiator Beast list that I kind of theorized, where I was like, okay, we're gonna try to focus on the power of Gladiator Beast War Chariot looping, and the best way to do that is to basically only ever normal summon a Glad. Never normal summon anything else that isn't a Gladiator Beast monster. That way your chariots are always live, and that way you're always threatening to loop chariot at every single point of the game. That's the point of this list here. That's why we're at 3 Liquari. That's why we're, not playing any other normal summons that aren't immediately a Glad. We are playing Gores. I think Gores is fucking insane in Glads. I think it's like one of the best Gores decks ever for a lot of different reasons. Mostly just because it's fucking Gores. But yeah, we're playing 1 Cyber Dragon. I like this card a lot. I just think it's good to play 1 in your main deck. It's very rarely a dead card. If you draw 2, sometimes the second one's dead, so that's why we're only maining 1. We're also maining double Smashing Ground. This is to deal with pretty much the bad matchups. When looking at this bad matchup spread, the bad matchups for Glads, if you look at it, it's like Blackwings is 50-50. It's not great. Add a couple Smashings, it improves the Blackwing matchup a lot. If you look at the Fairy matchup, add a couple of Smashing Grounds. It improves the matchup a lot. If you look at the Machina X matchup, you're not fixing that matchup with the Smashing Ground, but you are fixing it by adding a main deck Cyber Dragon, so it helps a lot there. And then if you look at the Stun X and Dragons matchup, that's where Smashing Ground really shines. So that's why I've elected to include these 2 Smashing Grounds in the main deck. They're great at shoring up those really bad matchups that Gladiator Beast has. And then, of course, we got to have the 1 Shrink to help play into Bottomless. Triple Book. I think Book's really good in the metagame right now. It helps just keep your dudes on the field. It helps you play through basically anything. It helps you deal with basically anything. It stops the Diva deck pretty much in its tracks. It's really good against those zombie decks that are very popular right now. And then, of course, I've got double Starlight Road as well as Call of the Haunted in the main as some interesting tech traps. 1 Dust Tornado, too, actually. So we've got some interesting tech traps. Not maining the Crush Shoot, as I have been in previous decks. I think, again, in this deck, I want to prioritize the tempo advantage that you get. I want all of my traps to be positive tempo. This deck has issues in that the monsters are very weak. So Trap Dust Shoot not being a positive tempo trap, if you draw a couple monsters and a Trap Dust Shoot, it's very bad for you. It's not guaranteeing you a battle phase. Whereas if you draw a couple monsters in like a Deep Prison, that is guaranteeing you a battle phase. So I think it's much better to maintain these positive tempo traps and not the hand interaction traps in the main deck for Gladiator Beasts. I've also got a few like weird options in the sideboard. Namely, I am siding the 2 Prisma and the Stratos. These come in some matchups. And also they're better like on the draw than they are on the play. On the play, I don't love bringing in both Prisma Stratos. Sometimes I'll bring in 1 Stratos, 1 Prisma, depending on the matchup. On the play, it's just for shifting the configuration of your deck around in the post-board situations. Sometimes your opponent's deck configuration, like let's say they don't have oppression, all of a sudden these look very good. Prisma Tiger against no oppression is excellent. It's very, very strong. Also, it gets better when you get to bring in your Heavy Storm. I'm citing the Heavy Storm. I'm not maining it. Also citing Dark Bribe, Dust Tornado, 2 D-Fissures. I think this is the perfect number. 2 is like, for me, I see it when I need to see it. If I don't see it, oh well, at least I'm not fucking bricking on 2 copies of it, which is basically why we're only citing the 2. I'm citing Mind Control and Brain Control. This is only for the mirror. I needed Mirror Breakers and Mind Control, Brain Control, and the 3rd Smashing Ground. Perfect for the mirror. 2nd Cyber Dragon for machines. Extra deck has, all the standard stuff, and then we got 1 knock for just like stupid Raikou shenanigans. All right, let's get into the replays. And then keep in mind, I'm playing these pretty serious. It's pretty serious. First replay is against End of Anubis 999. I am playing Gladiator Beasts, and he is playing Flamvel Zombies. So this actually falls, in my opinion, under Stun X, which is a terrible matchup for zombies. If you look at, or not zombies, for Gladiator Beasts, if you look at the matchup spread, Stun X should be 70-30 versus Glads. And I actually think Flamvel is basically Stun X. I think Flamvel is 70-30 versus Glads. I think that's pretty accurate. They're going to start off with set Pyramid Turtle, pass. I don't think they set their Mirror Force quite yet. We have a pretty fucking insane hand. I want to get my Murmillo back in the deck, so I just summon that and crash, or not crash, attack. Again, I've made this play a few times in the previous videos, and I think that this is a stronger opening play. Attacking with a weak monster early on, it can run into a Raikou, it can not trigger recruiters, like this guy's not going to run over a Shining Angel even, so it's good to get him attacking the set monster and back in the deck where you can actually utilize his effect. Drawing this card is ass, and you'll note that I do draw these fucking bricks a lot when I play this deck. I draw them almost every single game. But you gotta play towards getting them out of your hand and getting more active shit. Here I tag into Bestiari because I want to set up a potential Geyserus on the next turn. I'm going to Smashing Ground the Pyramid Turtle and set my Solemn Judgment and pass. Here they have Zombie Master. I am going to Solemn Judgment it because I just want to be able to tag out my Rediari and my Bestiari into a Geyserus and then have a Rescue Cat play for once the resources have completely dwindled down. He does set 2. The setting of the Mirror Force is pretty much mandated by him in case I just attack with Bestiari. And then the setting of the Torrential is also mandatory in case I go into Geyserus, which I do. So I set the Rediari, and at this point I'm pretty happy because I've gotten Rediari and Murmillo out of my hand, which it's nice. And I also got a pop Mirror Force Torrential, which are 2 of the scariest traps. Here he finds another Pyramid Turtle. I think he just pokes me with it, which is totally chill. I have an interesting decision on this turn. I think what I do is I cat Samnite into itself, or I Tiger Samnite into itself so I can search a War Chariot. And that's what I do. And at this point in time, I tag into Laquari so I can have a 2100 monster backing up my War Chariot. So if he tries to go for Caius, at this point I don't know he's playing Flamvel, as you can see. If he tries to go for Caius, I've got the War Chariot, and if he tries to do anything else like Synchro Summon, well, then I'm fucked, but at the very least, this is what I can do. So, top deck's Flamvel Magician, and yeah, I'm just fucked. So, he synchros into Thought Ruler. I think this is incorrect. I think you always make Stardust Dragon here, but it's whatever. And I think he also makes a questionable play here, activating the Mizuki. You should just attack with the Thought Ruler Archfiend first. You know I have War Chariot because I searched it, so don't use the Mizuki here, basically. Just save it. There's no reason to. He attacks over the Laquari, he gains 1800, passes the turn, and I top deck Mirror Force. Very lucky top deck. Very lucky top deck. Here I'm able to summon Equest and set Mirror Force and pass. Here he finds Starlight Road. He gets a little greedy. He could just chill out, but that does risk letting me, blow up his Thought Ruler with something like Geyserus. However, he does have Starlight Road to protect the Thought Ruler, so I think, honestly, what he could have done is just set Starlight Road and pass a turn here. I think playing too aggressively is how you're going to lose from positions like this where you should be completely winning. Like, look at this. You have a Rekindling with 2 targets. Bruh. And then you have fucking Thought Ruler Archfiend with Starlight Road, which is like a dream combo, basically. And then you have Dark Arm Dragon to top all these things off. So I think he got a little antsy here summoning the Fire Dog. He smelled blood, and then he attacked and played into Mirror Force when he probably didn't need to. Goes ahead and Rekindlings main 2, and I think at this point he makes Stardust, which is great. Great news. I pick up D-Prison. I'm just like, fuck yeah. I summon Laquari. I set D-Prison. Unfortunately for us, he doesn't play into D-Prison, so he does make some correct plays here by just not attacking. I can't afford to D-Prison the Zombie Master. I attack it. I book it here. I tag out into, I believe, Equest to add back the Chariot. I set the Chariot. I pass. He top decks fucking Plague Wolf, which I don't even understand why that's in his deck, but it gets Charioted. I'm just going to assume that this is like a Mystic Tomato, which would have also gotten Charioted, so there's like nothing really to think about there. Call of the Haunted, kind of a good draw. It can get me to Rescue Cat later on. And I actually think I should have played a bit more aggressively here. Basically what I could have done is I could have end phase Dust Tornadoed one of his back row. and then he negates it with Stardust, and then I Call of the Haunted Geyserus and pop both his back row, and then he's just in a bad spot where he only has Stardust, and I have a lot more live top decks than he does. Instead, he doesn't negate with Stardust, and I'm forced to just go to my turn, which kind of sucks. Either way, I would have gotten roaded because I'm a dumbass and would have played into that, but, you know, hey, here we are. You live and you learn. I find Darius, I just summon it and pass. He finds another fucking road. So he's on double road main deck dev with fucking Plague Wolf, which you can see is like a very cursed combination of cards. I find Sam Knight, just summon it, pass. I do end up losing this game to Starlight Road. I want you guys to know that. I want you guys to know that this guy Starlight Roads me in this game, and I lose. Here I Call the Haunted Rescue Cat. I make a convoluted play to try and kill the Stardust Dragon. Probably didn't even need to do all this. Probably could have just made fucking Heraclinos and attacked, because what is he going to do? I guess he Stardust negates my Heraclinos with a Battle Trap, but I mean, that's that, you know. Convoluted play, and then I make Geyserus, and then I target both, and then I get roaded, and then we go to game 2. So you can kind of see why this matchup's so bad. The 8-star Synchros are super fucking good against Glads. They just crush you, more or less. This game, he has a Zombie World in his hand. This card is bad. I don't know why it's in his deck. He has double Rekindling. That card is also a brick, and he has Flamvell Magician, which is also a brick, along with Starlight Road, which I'm going to be playing around for the rest of the match, more or less. I find Typhoon. I'm just going to activate Defissure and set 2. In hindsight, I probably should have just set 2, but I didn't want him to do anything with like Foolish Burial or Zombie Master on the first turn of the game. So I figured it's okay to just activate the Defissure here and pass. He activates Zombie World and he sets 4 and then passes, and I'm like, bruh. I have 2 Liquaris, so I have 1 to give. I go ahead and summon 1 into Trap Hole. He does Trap Hole it, and I'm like, that's fine. I didn't want to blind Typhoon into 4 back row because I didn't want to hit a Starlight Road. Since I'm not going to be playing into it the whole game, that card is basically dead. I go ahead and set my War Chariot. He draws Plague Wolf. He summons it and just hits me for 1,000. I'm like, all right, whatever. I find Dust Tornado. I go ahead and set that and then pass. He finds Bottomless Trap Hole. He summons Flamvell Magician, attacks with both Plague Wolf and Flamvell Magician. He correctly deduces that I have Starlight Road myself and does not go for a Black Rose Dragon or an Ancient Fairy Dragon here. So he doesn't try to do anything too cheeky. Here I'm going to M-Phase Typhoon his new back row, and it's kind of punishing him for setting all his back row up front. Maybe he might have wanted to hold one of his bluffs to set alongside a real back row later on. Because now I'm definitely going to be Typhooning the real back row instead of the bluffs. And this just kind of punishing him for playing his hand early on. So I go ahead and Wind Blast that. Space Typhoon that. And then I go ahead and Typhoon another back row. And I'm just like, all right, cool. I hit whatever I needed to hit. And here I found Book of Moon. So I feel pretty confident summoning the Liquari. I go ahead and do that. I still don't feel confident attacking yet, though. So I go ahead and set the book and pass. He finds Goblin Zombie. He activates the Plague Wolf. That trades with the War Chariot. Thankfully, getting rid of that shit right away. Summons a Goblin Zombie, and I am going to book it here. I don't know if I should have booked it here, but it's tough. It's tough. If he makes Stardust Dragon, then I can't really effectively out it because the Murmillo's in my hand. So I got to prevent him from making the Stardust Dragon. Now I'm pretty much forced to try and clear this board. Unfortunately, can't book the monster my Murmillo can run over, but hey, we're out here trying. I top deck Deep Prison, so I would have top decked out to Stardust Dragon regardless. Both his back row are pretty much dead. The Goblin Zombie is going to be pretty much dead in the face of Defissure. We're going to hit into this. We're going to mill a card. We mill the second Defissure. Very based, so we're not going to brick on that. And at this point, he concedes after we equest back the War Chariot. We go to Game 3. Game 3, he has double Zombie Master in his hand. This card is very good against Glads because it's stronger than all of our fucking cast. So there's that. But he also does have this weak Flamvell Magician. His hand's not bad, though. And our hand is also not bad. I'm going second, so I gotta play into that a little bit. Here, I pick up Cyber Dragon. I'm like, I'm super cool if Cyber Dragon trades with the back row. That's the whole point of Cyber Dragon, is to bait out the back rows so that your Glads can stick around and keep your Chariots live. So we use Cyber Dragon to try and bait out a back row. We don't try to blind Typhoon first or anything. That's a mistake, I think, here, in my opinion. Main phase 2, I probably could have blind Typhoon here to avoid certain things, but I wanted to set 2, and if he had Heavy Storm in his hand, I didn't want to blind Typhoon and then have him Heavy Storm 2 for 1 us. So I go ahead and just set 3. I just didn't want him to Heavy Storm me, basically. And I wanted to insulate a lot of stuff. So I just set some stuff. I pass. He summons Flamvell Magician. Here, I let all this shit happen. He goes into Thought Ruler, and I'm like, thank God. I could not have dealt with the Stardust. So I'm able to bottomless a Thought Ruler, and I'm pretty happy about all that, all things considered. Thankfully, this also wasn't a deck dev, which it looks like he's trying to play towards. I don't know what his insistency on going into Thought Ruler is, but in the future, if you're watching this, End of Anubis, definitely make Stardust against Glads. It's just a better threat. I think it might have shifted this whole game, actually. Probably would have beat me if you had gone Stardust here. I Typhoon his Typhoon. He chains it on the Chariot. I don't mind because I can Equest it back, which is what I'm going to do, basically. And then I'm going to set book Chariot. Nice that I picked up another back row so I can sort of conceal where the Chariot is. He finds Trap Hole. Little too late, kind of, with the Trap Hole because I've got Equest already in play. He tries to attack me with the Fire Dog. I do book the Fire Dog. I cannot let that effect resolve. He sets the Trap Hole. I find Test Tiger. I attack over his monster. I tag out. I go into the quarry. And I pass. He finds Zombie Master. He tries to revive his Zombie Master, I believe. No, he just has Rekindling. So here I'm just kind of in a bad spot. No cap. And he makes fucking Thought Ruler again. I don't... Why? It didn't work the first 2 times. Why are you trying to make Thought Ruler work? I don't... What are... People are so insistent. This is literally tripling down on the same mistake. Make a fucking Stardust Dragon, bro. Just make a Stardust Dragon. Okay, anyway. We take 18, and then on our turn, we're able to smash and ground the Thought Ruler. We're able to set Bottomless, stem the bleeding a little bit. They find Torrential. That's probably better for us than it is for him because it's going to clear his board. He pitches the Plague Wolf to bring back Zombie Master. There's no real reason to do this. You probably could have just summoned the Plague Wolf, honestly. Glads generally don't play Torrential, and it's just Mirror Force you have to get around. And 2800 is a 2-turn clock, so I think that this is actually a bit of a missequencing from the opponent. Plus, if I do sweep you, you have a sweeper for the follow-up, so it's not even bad. Like, it actually turns on your sweeper if you do get swept. So I think just summoning the Plague Wolf and attacking for 28, going for the 2-turn clock is better. This is a much slower clock. We were able to find a Deep Prison anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He Zombie Masters into Zombie Master again. Same weird play, summoning it in defense. This is honestly just giving me free stuff to tag off of with my Glads if I do ever fucking draw one. I wait a turn on the Deep Prison because I'm like, okay, I don't need to Deep Prison him yet. I can find a Glad and then Deep Prison him later on. And I find Mirror Force, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's a good thing I saved my Deep Prison. Maybe he switches the monsters. Unfortunately, he doesn't. He draws Heavy Storm after setting both his cards. He honestly should have gone for it and just gone for game. I think that this is another misplay. Just activate the Heavy Storm here. Like, what? If I have Road, then I have Road. But if I don't, then you win the game on the spot. So switches to Zombie Master. I find Secutor. I normal summon it. I Tiger into whatever. He's forced to Torrential. I pass a turn. He has Plague Wolf. Again, bro, just activate the Heavy Storm. Go for game. I don't get it. You know one of these is a Chariot, I believe, right? I think he knows that one of these is a Chariot. One of the first 2. So this would have to be a Road. So he'd have to be reading the Road at this point. He knows the last back row is Chariot. So he just loses his monster who passes. Now I pick up the Road, which is super funny because if he had Heavy Stormed at any point, I would have lost the game. He played way too scared. I had one back row the whole game. I'm just fucking storm me, man. What are the chances it's Road off the top? Very low. I find Shrink. I'm just super dead here. I don't know. He just never draws a monster. Finds Dust, sets that. I find Book. I set that. He finds his own Road, sets that. I find Darius. I summon it into Trap Hole. Goodbye, my sweet Darius. He finds Dark Armed. That card looks like it's a little bit hard to get live in this deck. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Passes the turn. I find Test Tiger. Pass the turn. He M-Phase dusts my Book. Sag. Goes ahead and summons his Magician. Or he does it on his turn, not M-Phase, but whatever. Hits me for 14. I drop down to 600. I top deck Cyber Dragon. I'm like, thank God I drew my second Cyber Dragon. I did board up to 2 in this matchup, so... Because, you gotta have the Cyber Dragon to run over the Fire Dog and whatnot. Go ahead and Cyber Dragon attack over this guy for 700. He picks up Goblin Zombie. He activates Zombie World, sets the Goblin Zombie. I pick up Book of Moon, and I feel pretty good at this point in time that I'm just going to win this game. He finds Fire Dog. He sets the Mizuki and the Heavy Storm. I top deck a Glad. Fucking finally. I special Tiger. I tag out into Bestie. And the reason I do this is because I have Shrink to dodge Bottomless. I have Book to dodge Bottomless. I'm basically just going to pop the back rows. I know that one's road, so I'm going to target it. I'm going to go ahead and attack with the Cyber Dragon, attack with the Bestie. Bestie's going to tag out into, I believe, Equest. I could be wrong. Yep, Equest, add back Laquari. He finds Trap Hole off the top. He goes for a Heavy Storm. I chain Starlight Road. Summon Stardust Dragon. He summons the Fire Dog. He attacks the Equest. I use the Shrink. And that's that. That's the game. I go ahead and Ready Ari, banish his Mizuki. Big damage. Big lethal damage. Lot of damage. I shouldn't have won this game. I think he had 3 turns where he could have won with the Heavy Storm, and actually 4 turns where he could have used Heavy Storm, and then the 2 instances he summoned Thought Ruler instead of Stardust cost him this game. So, like the matchup spreadsheet says, Stun X does in fact beat the fuck out of Glads, and it's not even a good Stun X deck. It is a weird, jank, Zombie World Plague Wolf Stun X deck. Still beats the fuck out of Glads. Okay, next matchup. It's me versus Liquid Sword. I lose the Rock, Paper, Scissors because, of course. But my opening hand is so cash money. And his opening hand is cash money. So this is actually going to be a cash money matchup. And if you look at the matchup spreadsheet, I have Gladiator and Blackwing being 50-50. So, who's going to win this one? We're going to find out. He gets to go first, and he does have Whirlwind Shura, which is literally everything you could possibly ask for, plus an Icarus attack in this matchup. Fucking disgusting, really, is what it is. He finds Kalut, doesn't search another Bora, basically telling me he has the Bora. Here, I have a couple of options. I actually want to bait out Oppression if it is Oppression. I want to bait out Bottomless if it is Bottomless. So I'm going to special summon Cyber Dragon before using the Smashing Ground. I also don't mind trading 2 for 2 with Icarus here. I don't think having the Cyber Dragon in play is going to alter the course of this game, provided my Rescue Cat resolves. So I'm going to special summon Cyber Dragon. He's going to Icarus attack, chain in response, and I'm like, fuck yeah. That's kind of exactly what I wanted. I wanted to out the back row and the Shura, and I wanted to use my Cyber Dragon to out the back row. So I got the exact outcome I wanted. Basically, like I said, I like using Cyber Dragon as a jank Space Typhoon with this deck. You want a Space Typhoon with your Cyber Dragon, and then stick your Glad so that your War Chariots are live. Here I go, Cat into Secutor. Secutor attacks directly. This also gets us Bestiary, which pops the Whirlwinds, and we are able to make Heraclinos. And here I make a crucial decision. I set just the War Chariot. You want to just set War Chariot here. Starlight Road, yes, very good, but it is much better in your hand here. Starlight Road is much better in your hand, and the reason being, is that if they have like fucking Shura Gale, which they would have to have alongside Kalut, which means I'm just fucking losing anyway. But if they have that shit, then Chariot stops Black Rose if they somehow fuck up colossally, whatever. Yes, if they have Shura Gale and they want to go for Black Rose, maybe setting Starlight is better. But that would mean that my opponent has to go Shura Gale, and they have to not use the Gale effect. They have to go straight for Black Rose, and they have to like do all this really fucking bad shit, basically, which is the only reason where you would want to set Starlight here. Otherwise, it's best to just keep it in hand as a generic negate for your Heraclino. So that's what we do. Trunade, I pitch the Starlight Road. I want to keep the Laquari because he can loop the Chariot. Summons Blizzy, and of course we have the Chariot for the Blizzy. So we were able to break through the really, really fast opening. And it's a good thing we Charioted the Blizzy too. Didn't give an opportunity to special summon this Bora, make multiple plays. I did think for a second, I was like, maybe I let him Synchro 6 into Brionic, but if he gets a chance to special summon the Bora, then he's going to have access to not only Kalut, but Brionic in the same turn. So he's going to have 2 ways to play through Chariot. We only have 1 Chariot, so we need to stunt the normal summon ASAP, basically. And that was my plan there. Here I summon the Laquari. Again, keep the Starlight Road in hand. This is going to create a Equest, I believe, and Equest is going to go get us the Chariot back. We're going to set that Chariot. He's going to find Bottomless Trap Hole, and he's going to die here to our board, which is insane. They went first. They started Shura Whirlwinds, and you saw the power of the Cyber Dragon tech, and you saw the power of the Smashing Ground. And of course, we were very lucky to have Rescue Cat in our opening, but he was also lucky as shit to have Trunade Whirlwind. So, I mean, Give and take. A little bit of luck here, a little bit of luck there. And that's kind of why I have Glad's Rescue Cat. That's why I have Glad's having the free win factor in the matchup spreadsheet. Okay, this game, I open Murmillo. Like I said, I draw this card a shit ton. Like, this card is glued to my fucking hand. I don't get it. Opponent drew Vayu, but you'll see later on he's playing multiple. He also has Dust Tornado and Royal Oppression. At this point in time, he normal summons Bora. It's backed up by Kalut. He sets his back row, and I picked up Stratos. So going second in this matchup, I actually board in one Stratos and one Prisma. The reason being is Stratos on the draw is actually really good against Blackwings. Let's say they start Shura, right? Maybe they don't have Kalut all the time. Stratos is one of the best ways to summon and then crash into Shura, get a +1 right away. Stratos is also nice at just like assaulting these Boras, assaulting these early summons from the Blackwing deck on the draw. So I think Stratos comes in this matchup, and you see why. It's perfect here. It's actually excellent. Very, very powerful card to summon in this position. I go ahead and find my Prisma, and I go ahead and pick up my quick +1. It's going to trade with the Kalut, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's still a quick +1, and I have, of course, the most powerful card in this deck, Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. So he's going to End-Phase Dust my Typhoon. Kind of sad, because it's my only out to Royal Oppression, which he does have, but can't Oppression Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, baby. Picks up a second copy of Vayu, kind of unfortunate, draws from the opponent, goes ahead and attacks with the Bora. Maybe didn't want to summon the Bora turn 1. Who knows? Maybe he wanted to wait to Sirocco then Bora. Who knows? In any case, we were able to drop the Gorz here, which is just great. He sets the Vayu and passes. I'm thinking at this point he has Icarus attack, but in that case, fuck it. I mean, this Murmillo's not doing anything in my hand anyway. Let's just full send, and we're going to end with at least a Murmillo to his Bora, which we can then book the Bora and run it, tag into it and tag out into something stronger, basically. So I attack the Bora first, and here I don't see an Icarus, so I'm like, oh shit, we're just fucking winning this game then. So Murmillo attacks, and then the token attacks directly. Murmillo activates, and here the opponent makes crucial mistake, very crucial mistake. He activates Royal Oppression. Don't do this. Don't do this here. I have the biggest monster in play. Royal Oppression says if you try to summon big monster, either player can pay 800 life points to negate. So you cannot kill my Gorz because my Gorz bigger than your monster. You have no out in your hand to Gorz. So don't flip this Royal Oppression here. Even if I go into Bestiary and pop your Oppression, that's fine. The only way you're ever winning this game is if Sirocco, Gale, or something like that happens. It's the only way you're ever winning this game anyway, and you can't do that if you lock yourself under your own Oppression. So I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, this is amazing. I'm just going to set 2 and then pass. I traded my Murmillo to lock my opponent out of special summons. Let's fucking go, baby. He picks up Rivalry, which I actually think is a fucking goated tech in Blackwings, but it's not going to matter too much this game just because we have the biggest monster here. I also think it's kind of weird that he summoned Sirocco. I think he probably could have just, like, set Vayu, honestly. Goes ahead and attacks over the token. I'm like, sure. Or no, wait, I book it. I book it because I don't want to deal with Kalut, and I'd rather save the token. Yeah, that's what I do. Okay, he sets Rivalry, passes. On our turn, we just summon Bestiary. I can actually force him into a position where he can no longer pay for Oppression by basically attacking with the Bestie here and then attacking for 4,400. And then he's completely locked under Royal Oppression. I'm not. But he does have the Rivalry of Warlords, which is very good here. Shockingly very good here. Kills 2 of our cards and kind of locks us out from just like doing anything else. Kind of kills our Chariot too. I do prefer the Gorz here over the Chariot, or over the Bestiary, just because we can't Chariot Vayu. So even if we keep Bestie, well, we can Chariot Vayu, it just stays in the grave, which you get what I'm saying. So even if we kept the Bestie here and not the Gorz, then they would just be able to make Armed Wing and beat our fucking shit in. So if they top deck Kalut, they out the Gorz and we probably lose. If they don't top deck Kalut, the Gorz is probably going to go the distance because they're actually pretty low in life points at this point. They set another card and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go. Gorz attack. Passes the turn. They draw a Blizzy. I'm like, fuck yeah. They summon Blizzy and try to activate the effect. I think this is just a mistake from them because they forget about their Royal Oppression, so I negate it, and they're like, ah, shit. And then they go ahead and Vayu, and I'm like, all right. They summon the Arm Wing in defense. Don't even try to bluff Kalut. If they had bluffed Kalut, I might have even considered not attacking, so I don't know. They also could have just not activated Blizzard's effect. There's a bunch of stuff they could have done differently, but it doesn't really matter. We pick up Bottomless Trap Hole, which is perfect because that's going to kill their Vayu follow-up into Armor Master. I'm just going to attack over the Armed Wing, set the Bottomless, and pass. They pick up Heavy Storm, which could do something at some point. I don't fucking know. They're setting the Shura, which is never a good sign for them. They probably should have kept that in hand. They pick up Book of Moon. They can set that. They activate the Vayu, but at this point, he disconnects because he's had enough. And we're just going to bottomless that anyway. And we had crushing advantage from this position. We just had so many cards. He had set the Book of Moon before going for the Vayu, realized his misplay probably, and probably shame conceded. That's my opinion on this. If he had kept the Book of Moon in hand, he could have actually done something quite disgusting, which is Vayu into Armed Wing, and then, or not Armed Wing, Armor Master, and then when we try to bottomless, he books it. But after realizing his misplay that he had set the Book of Moon this turn, he can no longer activate it till the next turn. He probably just had enough and dipped the fuck out. Okay, that was my replay against Liquid Sword. And yeah, I mean, 50-50 matchups. Let's talk about that a little bit. If you're playing slightly better than your opponent, like I think I was these two games, I think I made the right sideboard decisions. I think I made the accurate lines in the first game where I was able to clear the Icarus with the Cyber Dragon. I think I was playing just a little bit tighter than my opponent, and he played into a few of my tricks. And, you know, in 50-50 matchups, those few things are what matters, and not these insane floodgates. They don't carry you as hard as you'd think. Okay, the next game and the last replay I have for you guys today is me versus Chibata. I am playing Glads, and he is playing, I believe, Lightsworn. So we're going to close this one out with a very favored matchup for Glads. I think I put this as like 70-30 or something, 65-35. Yeah, the reason I have it 65-35 is because people have been favoring 2 Jane lately, and Jane's actually fucking insane versus Glads. That's the only reason it's not 70-30. It's just because there's 2 Jane now. That's literally it. Our opening hand's kind of cash money, kind of not. I think I just set Chariot pass. This is a very passive opening, but sometimes you have to play to get value out of all of your cards. I don't want to reveal what I'm on. I kind of want my opponent to give me a little bit of advantage by making a sloppy opening. If I summon Laquari here, for example, right? And my opponent summons Card Trooper. Am I fucking charioting it, or am I just losing my Laquari? What am I doing, right? If I summon Laquari here, my opponent's going to play around War Chariot. They're going to not play into it. So I'm just not going to reveal that that's what I have. He goes ahead and Card Trooper mills 3, attacks for 19. I'm taking 1900. I use my life points to position myself a little bit better here. And I think that's something that a lot of people, Glad players in general, fuck up. They just play their cards, and their cards are bad. You need a positional advantage in order to get something out of these Gladiator Beast monsters. The Quarry is ultimately a fucking Lajin. Like, it's not a good card. I summon Bestiari because I want to get this bitch back in the deck. I go ahead and attack the Card Trooper, and I Chariot his effect. Go ahead and tag out into eQuest. The drawn card is revealed and returned to the top of the deck. It's revealed to be Cold Wave. But despite that, I am just going to make the play I would have made anyway, which is tag into eQuest, get the War Chariot back, and set the Book of Moon. Big turn here. Big turn for the opponents. Can they make something happen? Picks up Cold Wave. Looks like their hand is pretty trash. A lot of bricks. That's the name of the game with Lightsworn. You either go nuts or you brick. And he bricked. So he goes for Cold Wave, and I'm like, do your worst. Sets a Raikou, and I'm like, top deck Bestiari, let's fucking go. That being the case, I could have done something with Test Tiger, Secutor, where like I forced the Raikou to hit the Secutor anyway. So it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, all things considered. But I don't know. I think top decking Bestie here is definitely the reason why we win this as quickly as we do. Go ahead and make the Geyserist, pop, attack for 24. Tag out, go ahead and ready are the Lumina and grab another Laquari. Now 2100. Stronger than everything in their cast, including a pumped up Jane. They do find Solar Recharge though, so it's still a game. It's still a game. They can find JD here. We do have Chariot for it. We do have Book. So they don't find it though, and they do find Jane. So they summon Jane, attack. We book it pretty much on our turn. We find Darius. And I'm just like, I'm just going to summon everything and get a million effect activations. kind of go off on this dude. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened. He admitted defeat. We go into the next game. That's kind of why Lightsworn is bad against Glads, but keep in mind, I baited him. I baited him into summoning that weak monster and attacking me. Because when I have a weak play, when I have a position of weakness, like just set one pass, your opponent's thinking, okay, maybe they have Torrential. I'm going to summon my Card Trooper. I'm going to summon my Goblin Zombie, my Sangan, whatever. You have to think what your opponent is thinking when they see your position. And because that happens, I was able to summon my Laquari and then take over the position, kill the Card Trooper, get that shit out of there, negate the draw for free, basically, with the War Chariot being looped, and I established a dominating position that game because of it. This game, I believe, is pretty rough. He Cold Waves me turn 1, and my hand is just fucking bricks. It's Murmillo yet again. So I've drawn, actually, Murmillo more games than I haven't in this series, which is insane. I wish I could draw Future Fusion like this, but you know what? Can't always have what we want. Here I just go Laquari Crash. I need to get Jane off the table because it kills our whole hands. And they have Honest, so we kind of get fucked. Here they go Lumina. They Foolish Gareth, which to me, I don't fucking know why they do that. They should have just Foolish Wolf, set the Raikou, probably win the game immediately once this all happens. But they go Lumina Gareth, and I think they actually make quite a bad play here in stacking for the Plague. I don't think they needed to do this at all. I think they should have just left their Lightsworns in play and gotten maximum value out of the Gareth Mills, basically. But instead, they elect to go into Magical Android, trying to have as resilient a board as possible. It's just not that resilient. It's just not going to do it. It's just not going to hang, you know. We're gonna break through this board fairly easily. And by fairly easily, I mean at a very low life total. They mill 4 cards, and they're revealing that they've got 7 Tools of the Bandit in their deck post-board. I actually really dislike 7 Tools of the Bandit in Lightsworn. I would much prefer something like Royal Decree or Trapstun. The reason why I think 7 Tools of the Bandit is dog shit terrible is because it costs life points. And oftentimes, you're going to be in a place where, like, JD costs life points, 7 Tools cost life points, Brain Control, whatever. Like, you've taken a few hits. Sometimes you're going to 7 Tools, or you're not going to be able to 7 Tools because you had to pay that life points for JD, more or less. So I don't like 7 Tools in this deck. I also think it's just really bad in general. Just a bad card in this format. Like, Trapstun is almost always better. Goes ahead and mills 2 more cards, I think, or 1 more card, mills a Monster Reincarnation, and then passes, and we pick up our Tech Smashing Ground, which is massive here. Smashing Ground is so good in the Gladiator Beast deck because it lets you come back from basically lost positions, like this one. We're able to Smashing Ground the Magical Android, and unfortunately, because the Murmillo is in our hands, we're not able to tag out into Murmillo and pop their Gareth. So we are dead to a top deck Celestia, but as it stands, I am going to book the Jane, run it over with Sam Knight, and tag into Laquari, 2100 Laquari. Here, he top decks a monster. He sacrifices the Gareth. And I'm just like, bruh, did you really top deck Celestia while I drew fucking Murmillo? But he didn't. He top decked Cyber Dragon and just crashes, and then we're able to basically take over the game because we top decked Solemn Judgment. So we had a sequence of really good top decks. But to be fair, our opening hand was really fucking bad. We had like 6 monsters or some shit in a deck that doesn't play that many. Plays like 13 or 14. So we had like all monsters, and then we top decked a nice Smashing Ground and a nice Solemn Judgment. We were able to attack with Murmillo, getting this motherfucker out of my fucking hands once and for all. And then we grab Darius to bring back Laquari because I want to put on as much pressure as possible. Next turn, I could even make Heraclinos if I want to. Finds Charge of the Light Brigade, and here I'm thinking, fuck, what if he gets fucking Raikou, that guy? I need to Solemn this Charge, but Charge is just such a fucking good draw here, because if he mills Wolf for cost, it doesn't even matter that I Solemned it. Thankfully, he does not mill Wolf for cost, and we are able to just negate this. He does mill another 7 Tools, which is really funny. Don't play that card in this deck. It's very bad. Passes a turn, I draw Secutor because that's what I needed this game, to draw more monsters, but honestly it doesn't matter because I'm able to make Heraclinos, and I'm also able to Equest back my Laquari to give myself an extra negate, which is the move that I make here to be more accurate. And they top deck Lila. They try to mill a Necro or a Wolf. Alas, they do not. They mill more interesting sided in cards. Looks like a lot of cards sided in for Glads. None of them drawn, a lot of them milled, And even if any of them had been drawn, I'm not sure exactly how good they would have been this game. We do find Test Tiger, and that's going to guarantee this one. So 3-0 with Glads. The last one winning at 75 life points. A really, really fun deck to play. I think this deck list is probably, well, let me go ahead and refresh so we have the deck list open again. I think this deck list is probably the tournament Glads list I would bring. If I was going to bring a Gladiator Beast list to a tournament, this is the one I would bring. I think the inclusion of these two Smashing Grounds, the inclusion of this main deck Cyber Dragon, and the game plan of just always normal summoning a Glad to keep your Chariot live, I think those three things make this deck a little bit more solid and improve on some of its bad matchups that it has in the matchup spreadsheet. Let me know what you guys think about the matchup spreadsheet in the comments below. Maybe you guys have different opinions. Maybe you guys are struggling with something that I'm not. Maybe you guys are not struggling with something that I am. So I don't know. I'm always interested in hearing the comments and seeing the comments below. Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.